So now that we've got a picture of what your expenses were before everything started, now we're going to go through um, the second tab on the spreadsheet and look at how your expenses have changed, uh, since March, since April, and really get an idea of where things currently stand and see how they've differed from your regular expenses. Um, this lesson and the next couple lessons are going to use this same part of the spreadsheet to we're going to go through it with what your expenses are now. Then we're going to go through it again um, to see if there's any government assistance or other programs, both within the city or town that you live, or the province that you're in, or federal benefits from the Canadian government that can help with some of those costs. And then the fourth step that we're going to do on this spreadsheet, is going to be the hardest, where we really have to look at, opportunities or places where, if you need to, if you have to, that you could cut out further. And like I said before, we'll get to that, but you'll see a large reduction in a lot of areas, as we go through the first exercise. And we'll switch over to that now. So here we are in the Reduce Monthly Cash Flow tab. And what you can see is if you compare the two, they will be identical. They'll have the exact same values in both of them. And that's just because the Reduce Monthly Cash Flow tab will pull in all the information that you had put in there before. So what we'll do is we'll either keep what was already inputted, or if there's areas in here that have changed, then we will go through that. So in the housing costs here, it's very unlikely that you've had a reduction in many of these expenses. Now, if you look at the transportation costs, with the cost of fuel going down and the likelihood that you're not driving as much, you will see the amount go down. So you just basically override it with roughly what you're paying now in the last month or so on gas. When it comes to vehicle insurance, you may or may not have contacted your vehicle insurance, or you may or may not have been contacted about having the costs reduced. So if that's the case, then you would reduce that down a bit. And again, these numbers are just numbers, based on a bit of my own family circumstances, depending on where you are across the country and what circumstances you live with, your numbers are going to be completely different. So you just want to modify it that way. Public transit, if you are still working, then you'll probably be taking public transits. But if you are not working, that's likely an amount that's reduced significantly. Car maintenance and repairs may or may not reduce much. And again, parking, if you're not driving as much, might be reduced as well. So if you go to your daily costs, you're probably going to find that your groceries have gone up, and so you just want to look at kind of roughly what you've been paying per week and times that by 4. But whatever amount that is, you would reflect that there. Most likely, since it's very difficult to shop and you may not have to purchase clothing, or you may not be going to stores, if this has gone down, then you can reduce that cost down as well. Likely your medical costs have not changed unless going to a chiropractor or certain things have been changed, then you would make those modifications there. Now, if you're still contributing to various savings, then you can leave that for now. We'll address that in the next video. And then if you are paying for any kind of insurance, anything, that sort of stuff, likely that's not changed at all. If you did have any kind of child care, or in my family we had after school care, so that's obviously not a cost right now, and so we would get rid of that. And it's likely here in this section in the discretionary costs where you'll have noticed the greatest changes. So for instance, there are no sports activities, and the schools have no more fees. There is no more travel. Hobbies, there still might be hobbies, but likely reduced. Pets, if you have pets, then those expenses will be the same. There won't be much change there. We do not have pets in our family. Electronics, you may not be purchasing as much, and entertainment, maybe entertainment is now streaming services, that sort of thing. So if you add up your different streaming services per month, that might go into there. Restaurants, eating out, obviously that's not likely, but you may be getting takeout still, so really would reflect how much takeout you're getting. In my family's circumstances, our takeout has reduced. Alcohol may be a category that has increased for you, or possibly decreased because you're not being as social. So, just adjust that to reflect what you're actually spending. If you have kids or any kind of toys, that may or may not have adjusted as well, just due to the difficulty of purchasing. Now, if your charitable donations have changed, you'll want to modify here. And then gifts as well. Likely there's not, in my case, birthday parties for the kids to go to, all that sort of stuff. So, now it's mostly just family and that sort of stuff. So that stays. And then, if you have any kind of subscriptions to magazines or newspapers or anything else, then, that may or may not have changed. So you just make that adjustment. So an interesting exercise here is, just by going through here and modifying how your expenses have changed over the last number of weeks, you can see if you flip back to the regular monthly cash flow and you look at your monthly expense total there, and you look at your new reduced total, you'll likely notice that your expenses have gone down a fair amount, just naturally because of the change in lifestyle. So it puts you at a reduced expenses that we then have to go through to try and match with your incoming income.